In the annals of motorsport, few rivalries have captivated audiences and pushed the boundaries of competition quite like that of Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. More than mere teammates or competitors, their clash of personalities and driving philosophies transformed Formula One. It was a saga of ambition, genius, and unyielding will, played out on the world's fastest circuits. Their story isn't just about winning races, it's about the profound impact two extraordinary individuals had on a global sport, forever redefining what it meant to be a champion. Their battles became legendary, etching their names into the very fabric of F1 history. The late 1980s marked a vibrant and transformative period for Formula One. Turbocharged engines dominated, offering immense power and demanding incredible skill to control. Aerodynamics were evolving rapidly, and the global reach of the sport was expanding, bringing unprecedented attention to its stars. This was an era where raw talent met cutting-edge technology, creating an explosive mix. The stakes were higher, the speeds were faster, and the personalities became larger than life, setting the perfect stage for the unfolding drama between two future legends. Alain Prost arrived at McLaren in 1984, already a formidable force. Nicknamed the Professor for his intellectual approach to racing, he meticulously analyzed every detail, conserving tires and fuel with unparalleled precision, and executing flawless race strategies. By 1988, he was a two-time world champion, celebrated for his smooth, consistent style and his ability to win championships through intelligent, calculating drives. Prost was a complete driver, a master of racecraft, and a respected figure in the paddock, embodying an older, more measured approach to the sport. He was the benchmark. Ayrton Senna da Silva emerged onto the F1 scene with an undeniable, almost spiritual connection to speed. His raw talent, aggressive driving style, and unwavering commitment to pushing the absolute limits were unlike anything the sport had seen. Senna was less about calculation and more about instinct, driving with a passion and intensity that bordered on the transcendent, especially in wet conditions where he was virtually untouchable. He spoke of finding God within the car, a deep, mystical drive that fueled his pursuit of perfection. He was a force of nature, a challenger to the established order, and hungry for his first world title. In 1988, McLaren brought together these two colossal talents. Prost, the reigning intellectual champion, and Senna, the hungry, blistering fast prodigy. On paper, it was a dream team, an unbeatable combination. And for a season, it was. McLaren's Honda-powered MP4/4 was utterly dominant, winning 15 of the 16 races. The team's supremacy, however, ironically began to sow the seeds of their internal conflict. With no external threats, the only real competition was each other. The battle for the World Championship was purely a McLaren affair, pushing both drivers, and their relationship, to breaking point. Their differing philosophies were clear on track. Prost, with his smooth, efficient lines, would glide through corners, preserving his equipment for the crucial final stages of a race. Senna, on the other hand, was all aggression and precision, often appearing to wrestle the car to extract every fraction of a second, particularly in qualifying. These contrasting approaches created mesmerizing races when they were side by side, a perfect study in opposites attracting yet ultimately repelling. Their individual genius, however, fueled McLaren's unprecedented success, making them an unstoppable force until their rivalry became too intense to manage. The cracks in their relationship became glaringly apparent at the 1989 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola. After a red flag incident, the team agreed that whoever led into the first corner after the restart would not be challenged by the other. Prost, respecting the agreement, led into Tosa. However, Senna, seeing an opportunity, aggressively overtook Prost just moments later, breaking the unspoken pact. This act of perceived betrayal ignited a deep-seated mistrust in Prost, who felt Senna had shown a complete lack of respect for team rules and gentlemen's agreements. The rivalry had officially turned bitter. The Imola incident wasn't just a track event, it spilled over into a public war of words. Prost openly accused Senna of breaking their agreement, questioning his integrity. Senna, conversely, defended his actions as a racing instinct, arguing that an opportunity presented itself and he took it. McLaren team principal Ron Dennis found himself in an impossible position, attempting to manage two fiercely ambitious drivers who were now barely speaking. The media, of course, reveled in the drama, amplifying every statement and creating a palpable tension that permeated the entire F1 paddock. The once dream team was now fractured beyond repair. The 1989 Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka arrived with the championship finely balanced. Prost led Senna by 16 points, but with only 2 races remaining in Senna's recent run of form, the title was still very much in play. Suzuka, a notoriously challenging and unforgiving circuit, was the perfect arena for such a high-stakes showdown. The atmosphere was electric, thick with anticipation and the unresolved tension between the two McLaren drivers. Everyone in F1 knew this race wouldn't just be about speed, it would be about psychology, bravery, and potentially, outright confrontation. The world watched, breathless. On lap 47 of 53, with Senna needing to win to keep his championship hopes alive, he launched a daring move on Prost into the Casio Triangle chicane, turn 16. Prost, unwilling to yield, turned in, and the two McLarens collided. Prost immediately retired, his championship seemingly secured by the crash. Senna, however, had his car push-started by marshals, cut the chicane, pitted for a new nose cone, and rejoined the race. He then stormed through the field, past Alessandro Nannini, and crossed the finish line in first place. But the controversy was far from over, as stewards deliberated his restart. Despite crossing the line first, Senna was later controversially disqualified by the FIA for missing the chicane after the collision and for being push-started. This ruling handed the 1989 World Championship to Alain Prost. The decision was met with outrage from Senna and his supporters, who viewed it as a politically motivated move to prevent Senna from winning the title. Prost, while having secured his third championship, could not fully savor it amidst the acrimony. The incident left an indelible mark on their rivalry, deepening the animosity and making any future reconciliation seem impossible. The atmosphere at McLaren had become untenable. With the relationship between Senna and Prost beyond repair, Alain Prost made the momentous decision to leave McLaren at the end of 1989, seeking a fresh start and a new challenge. He moved to Scuderia Ferrari, a legendary team yearning for a world championship. Prost hoped the change of scenery would allow him to focus purely on racing, away from the intense personal rivalry that had consumed his final year at McLaren. The move promised new battles, but few could have predicted that his old nemesis would still be very much a part of his championship aspirations. 1 year later, the championship narrative brought Senna and Prost back to Suzuka for another dramatic showdown. Senna, now leading the championship for McLaren, faced Prost in his Ferrari. The stakes were identical, whoever won would likely take the title. Senna needed Prost not to finish to secure the championship. There was immense pressure, with Senna already feeling aggrieved about the previous year's events. The grid was set, with Senna on pole position but controversially placed on the dirtier side of the track. A sense of impending conflict hung heavy in the air, a feeling of unresolved destiny. As the lights went out for the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix, Prost made a strong start from second, pulling alongside Senna. Heading into the first corner, turn 1, Senna, in a move that seemed predetermined, did not lift. The two cars collided at incredibly high speed, careening off the track and out of the race. The championship was over, with Senna securing his first world title. Later, Senna admitted that the collision was intentional, a retaliatory act for the perceived injustice of 1989. It was a cold, calculated move, a statement of defiance that shocked the F1 world. The 1990 Suzuka incident secured Ayrton Senna his first Formula One World Championship. While controversial, the title was undeniably his. The aftermath saw fierce debate. Was it a legitimate racing incident, or a deliberate act of vengeance? Senna's candid admission solidified the latter in many minds, revealing the raw, unforgiving nature of his competitive spirit. For Senna, it was a form of redemption, righting what he saw as the wrongs of the previous year. It marked a pivotal moment in his career, establishing him not just as a fast driver, but as a relentless, uncompromising champion willing to do whatever it took. Even with Prost at Ferrari and then on sabbatical, the shadow of their rivalry persisted. Senna continued his dominance with McLaren, securing his second and third world titles in 1990 and 1991. Prost, meanwhile, struggled with an uncompetitive Ferrari in 1991, leading to his controversial dismissal and a year out of the sport in 1992. But the narrative demanded their return. Prost, after a year away, found his way back to F1 with the dominant Williams-Renault team for the 1993 season. The stage was set, once again, for a direct confrontation between the two legends, albeit with different team colors. The 1993 season saw Prost driving for the formidable Williams, a car that was arguably the most technologically advanced on the grid. Senna, despite McLaren's waning competitiveness, produced some of his most heroic drives, often outperforming his machinery. Though Senna won 5 races that year, Prost, with the superior Williams, secured his 4th and final world championship. At the end of 1993, Prost announced his retirement from Formula One, bringing an end to his incredible career and, seemingly, their direct rivalry. A poignant moment occurred on the podium at Adelaide, where Senna famously pulled Prost onto the top step, a gesture of grudging respect. With Prost retired, a new chapter began for Senna. He moved to Williams for the 1994 season, ironically taking over the car Prost had just vacated. Meanwhile, Prost embarked on a career as a television commentator, now observing the sport from a different vantage point. There were glimmers of a fragile peace between the two. Senna, now at the helm of the dominant Williams, sometimes consulted Prost on the car's characteristics. Publicly, the animosity seemed to soften, replaced by a mutual, if still complex, respect. The era of direct conflict was over, and perhaps, a genuine understanding was beginning to emerge. The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix at Imola proved to be one of the darkest weekends in Formula One history. After a series of serious accidents and the death of fellow driver Roland Ratzenberger, a palpable sense of unease hung over the circuit. On May 1, during the race, Ayrton Senna, leading from pole position, tragically crashed at the notorious Tamburello corner. The accident claimed his life, sending shockwaves across the globe and plunging the sport into profound grief. The world had lost one of its brightest stars, a man who had captivated millions with his unparalleled skill and fearless spirit. Alain Prost, Senna's fiercest rival, was profoundly affected by the tragedy. Despite their bitter history, a deep respect had always underpinned their relationship. Prost served as a pallbearer at Senna's funeral, a powerful image that transcended their personal battles and spoke volumes of the bond they ultimately shared. In the years that followed, Prost would often speak of Senna not just as a competitor, but as a crucial part of his own career and identity. The intensity of their rivalry had forged an unbreakable, if complex, connection, and Senna's death left an undeniable void in Prost's life. The Senna-Prost rivalry, for all its controversy and animosity, ultimately left an unparalleled legacy for Formula One. Their intense competition pushed engineering boundaries, forced drivers to achieve new levels of performance, and captivated a global audience, making F1 a household name. Crucially, Senna's death also spurred monumental safety reforms, transforming the sport for future generations. Their shared pursuit of perfection, even at the cost of personal animosity, elevated Formula One from a mere sporting event to a dramatic spectacle, setting a benchmark for rivalries and excellence that remains unmatched to this day. Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, two utterly different but equally brilliant talents, will forever be intertwined in the fabric of Formula One history. Their rivalry was a complex ballet of genius and animosity, a story that continues to fascinate and inspire. It wasn't just about who was faster, or who won more championships, it was about two men pushing each other to unimaginable heights, forging a legacy that transcends individual achievements. Their story is a powerful reminder that sometimes, the greatest adversaries bring out the absolute best, and occasionally, the worst, in one another, creating an unforgettable legend that echoes through time.